There's a fine line between patience and self-betrayal. When someone disrespects you, it's not just about what they did, it's about what you do next. How you respond defines whether you hold your power or give it away. In this video, we're diving deep into 5 things you should never do when someone disrespects you, because your self-respect isn't negotiable. It's your foundation. Let's get into it. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct might be to strike back. It feels natural to defend yourself with equal force, to return the insult, to match their negative energy with your own. But this is where most people make a critical mistake. When you lower yourself to their level, you aren't just responding, you're handing over your self-control. You're stepping into the same space where they live, a place driven by ego, anger, and pettiness. It's tempting to clap back, to say something sharp that cuts as deeply as their words did, but the truth is, that moment of satisfaction fades quickly. What stays with you is the realization that you allowed someone else's behavior to dictate yours. Holding your ground doesn't mean firing shots. It means staying rooted in who you are. When you choose to rise above the situation, you're not being passive. You're showing immense strength. It takes real power to walk away without needing the last word. It takes courage to hold your tongue when your pride is begging you to speak. But that's the point. Pride is loud. Self-respect is quiet and unshakable. The more you engage in their game, the more you feed their need for attention, for dominance, for control. The real win is when you don't give them that satisfaction. There's an unmatched confidence in being unbothered. When someone tries to pull you into negativity, and you don't flinch, you send a silent message. You can't touch me. You're showing that their words don't carry weight in your world. You're telling them, without saying a thing, that your energy is too expensive for their drama. And people notice that. They respect the one who stays calm. They respect the one who doesn't need to react to prove their worth. They respect the one who knows silence can speak louder than any insult. This doesn't mean you allow disrespect to slide. It means you choose your response with purpose, not impulse. You can set boundaries firmly without losing your cool. You can protect your space without becoming hostile. The goal isn't to win the argument. The goal is to win your peace. Because every time you meet disrespect with more disrespect, you're telling yourself that your emotions are controlled by someone else. You're giving them the remote to your mood, your day, your energy. Real strength is knowing you can respond, but choosing when or if it's even worth it. Not every battle deserves your presence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply rise above and keep moving. When someone disrespects you, it's not just about the moment, it's about what you're willing to tolerate. Disrespect is rarely an accident. Often it's a subtle test, a quiet push to see how far they can go. The moment you ignore your own boundaries, you send a message that you're willing to bend, to shrink, to accept less than you deserve, just to avoid confrontation or keep the peace. But keeping the peace at the expense of your self-worth is never peace, it's silent self-abandonment. You cannot afford to make yourself small for the comfort of others. The minute you let one act of disrespect slide without checking it, you open the door for more. Boundaries are not just walls to keep people out. They are lines that define where you end and where someone else's behavior is no longer acceptable. When someone crosses that line, staying silent or brushing it off is like erasing the line altogether. You may tell yourself, it's not a big deal, or I'll let it go this time, but those small moments stack up. Over time, the person learns exactly what you're willing to accept, and they will keep pushing until there's no boundary left at all. This is how people slowly chip away at your confidence, your comfort, and your sense of self. It doesn't happen in one explosion, it happens in 1,000 tiny cuts you choose not to notice. Holding your boundaries doesn't mean you have to be aggressive or loud. It simply means you have to be clear. You can say no without raising your voice. You can walk away without making a scene. You can choose your self-respect without offering an explanation. People often think they have to fight every time they stand up for themselves. But the truth is, strength sometimes looks like calmly removing yourself from situations that no longer serve you. It's about letting your actions speak for you, showing people how to treat you by what you refuse to tolerate. When you ignore your own boundaries, you start living for other people's approval. You start measuring your worth by how much you can endure, instead of how much you respect yourself. But you were not made to carry the weight of other people's disrespect. You were made to protect your peace, your dignity, your space. Every time you choose to honor your boundaries, you send a powerful message not just to others, but to yourself that you are worthy of respect, even if you have to give it to yourself first. And when you live like that, the people who don't respect you will naturally fall away, and the ones who do will rise to meet you. When someone disrespects you, it's easy to fall into the trap of wanting to be seen, wanting to be understood, and wanting them to recognize your worth. You might feel the urge to chase their approval, to demand their apology, or to try to make them acknowledge what they did was wrong. But this is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Seeking validation from someone who disrespected you is like looking for sunlight in the middle of the night. It's not coming. And the more you chase it, the more you hand over your power to someone who already showed you they don't value it. The truth is, not everyone will see your worth. Some people are too wrapped up in their own ego, their own insecurities, or their own need for control to ever offer you the respect you deserve. That has nothing to do with your value and everything to do with their limitations. When you tie your self-esteem to their recognition, you're building your confidence on shaky ground. You spend your energy trying to prove something that never needed proving. Your worth isn't up for debate. It isn't something to be argued over. It simply is. You don't need their apology to move on. You don't need their validation to feel strong. Waiting for someone else to validate you is like sitting in a locked room holding the key, but still waiting for someone else to open the door. You already have the power to free yourself. The moment you realize you don't need their recognition is the moment you take your power back. Their inability to respect you does not shrink your value. It only reveals their lack of character. People who know their worth don't beg to be seen. They don't chase closure from people who don't deserve their energy. They don't wait around hoping for someone to realize their mistake. They walk with a quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, and that's enough. And that energy speaks volumes. It shifts the room. It sets the tone for how others will treat you moving forward. When you stop seeking validation from people who've disrespected you, you start validating yourself. You start prioritizing how you feel over how they see you. You begin to understand that real strength isn't found in changing their mind, it's in knowing you never needed their approval in the first place. And when you live like that, you become untouchable. Their opinions lose power over you, and you finally stand fully in your own. When someone disrespects you, your emotions can fire instantly. The sting of their words, the tone of their voice, or the weight of their actions can hit you hard, and your natural response might be to react on impulse. You might feel anger rise in your chest. You might feel the urge to lash out, to defend yourself without thinking. But the truth is, the moment you let your emotions take the wheel, you hand over control of the situation. You give them the power to dictate your mood, your response, and even your self-image. Emotional reactions often feel strong in the moment, but more often than not, they leave you with regret and no real resolution. The person who can disrespect you and get an explosive reaction from you wins. They've managed to pull you out of your calm, out of your balance, and now you're dancing to their rhythm. But when you hold your composure, when you can stay centered while someone else is trying to shake you, that's real power. Emotional discipline is not about suppressing your feelings, it's about choosing when and how to express them. It's about understanding that not every situation deserves your raw, unfiltered reaction. Sometimes the strongest response is no reaction at all. When you master your emotions, you make decisions based on wisdom, not temporary feelings. You respond in a way that protects your energy and your peace. You aren't controlled by your first impulse, you're led by your awareness of the bigger picture. Because the truth is, disrespect says more about the other person than it does about you. If you let them pull you into emotional chaos, you allow them to control the narrative. But when you stay calm, you remain the author of your own story. Being calm doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are grounded. It means you value your peace more than you value winning an argument. It means you refuse to let someone's bad behavior dictate the quality of your day. This kind of emotional self-control doesn't come easily, but it separates those who are truly strong from those who are simply loud. Strength is quiet. It is measured. It is steady. Choosing to step back, to breathe, to think, and to respond with intention is not about letting anyone off the hook. It's about choosing yourself. It's about not allowing anyone to steal your peace. You can acknowledge what happened. You can address the disrespect, but you can do it from a place of power, not from a place of emotional chaos. And that is how you win without ever having to raise your voice. When someone disrespects you, staying silent can feel like the easiest way out. Sometimes, you might convince yourself that saying nothing will keep the peace or help you avoid unnecessary conflict. There are moments when silence is powerful, when walking away is the best option. But there are also times when silence sends the wrong message. When you allow disrespect to pass without speaking up, you can unintentionally teach people that it's acceptable to treat you that way. Not because you deserve it, but because you didn't set the record straight. Silence in the wrong moment can be misunderstood as approval, as permission, as weakness. And when that happens, the cycle of disrespect doesn't stop, it repeats. You have to recognize when your voice matters. There is strength in calmly but firmly addressing what was said or done. Speaking up is not about being aggressive or starting a war. It's about standing your ground, showing that you recognize your worth, and making it clear that certain behavior will not be tolerated. When you let people cross your boundaries unchecked, you risk losing parts of yourself. You chip away at your own confidence every time you choose comfort over self-respect. But when you speak up, you reaffirm your value to yourself first and to others second. Many people fear confrontation, but using your voice doesn't mean creating chaos, it means creating clarity. It means removing any confusion about what you will and will not accept. Sometimes, people genuinely don't realize they've crossed the line until you tell them. Other times, they know exactly what they're doing, and your silence only makes it easier for them to keep doing it. Either way, speaking up gives you back control. It's a signal that you are fully aware of your worth, and you won't compromise it for the sake of temporary comfort. It's important to remember that using your voice doesn't always mean explaining yourself. You don't owe long explanations or emotional speeches. A simple, direct statement is often more powerful. You can say, "That's not acceptable," or "I don't appreciate being spoken to like that." Your tone doesn't need to be loud for your words to carry weight. The key is to be honest, to be firm, and to be consistent. If you speak up once but stay silent the next time, people get mixed signals. Consistency teaches people how to treat you. Protecting your space, your peace, and your dignity requires courage. It requires you to prioritize your self-respect, even if it makes others uncomfortable. When you speak up when it matters, you send a clear message to the world. I will not shrink for anyone. I will not stand quietly in the face of disrespect. I will stand for myself. When someone disrespects you, it's easy to carry that moment with you long after it's over. You might find yourself replaying their words in your head, questioning what you should have said, or letting their behavior ruin your mood for the rest of the day. But when you carry disrespect with you, you give it life long after it should have died. You allow someone else's bad energy to linger in your mind, taking up space that should be reserved for your peace, your goals, and your growth. Holding on to disrespect is like walking around with a stone in your shoe. It keeps hurting you, not because it's powerful, but because you won't let it go. Carrying someone else's disrespect with you weighs you down in ways you may not even notice at first. It can make you more defensive, more guarded, and sometimes even more doubtful of yourself. The longer you hold onto that moment, the more you begin to internalize it, thinking maybe you deserved it, maybe you were wrong, maybe you should have acted differently. But their disrespect is not your burden. It is not your story to carry. What they said or did speaks about their character, not your worth. Letting go doesn't mean you excuse the behavior. It doesn't mean you pretend it never happened or that it didn't bother you. It simply means you refuse to give that moment more power than it deserves. You acknowledge it. You learn from it. You set boundaries if you need to, but you don't let it follow you around like a shadow. You don't let someone else's negativity dictate your energy, your thoughts, or your attitude moving forward. When you carry disrespect with you, you're reliving a moment that's already over. You're letting it take up mental space where your confidence should live. People who know their worth learn how to release what doesn't serve them. They don't replay old arguments or hold grudges that only poison their own peace. They process what happened, take the lesson, and then they move forward with clarity and strength. The power to drop that weight is in your hands. You can choose to focus on the things that build you, uplift you, and empower you instead of dragging around the weight of someone's disrespect. You can't always control how people treat you, but you can always control what you carry with you after. Not everything deserves a permanent place in your mind. Some things are meant to be put down and left behind. And when you choose to release it, you free yourself to move forward without the chains of someone else's mistake. Disrespect is inevitable, but how you handle it defines your strength. Protect your peace, stand firm in your worth, and never give your power away by reacting impulsively or carrying their negativity with you. Let your calm, your boundaries, and your self-respect speak louder than any disrespect ever could.